What's up, everyone? Eli here, back for a collection update video. Picked up a few things over the last week or so. I got a couple things in the mail, and I still have one thing coming in the mail, but it's taken forever. And a couple things that I found at my local store that just opened back up yesterday. I was one of the assholes that was there like the minute they opened up. But nothing rare or valuable or anything like that, but some cool stuff, some classics. I guess we'll start with the vinyl. Got a vinyl, a couple CDs. Started with a band most of you guys probably don't give a shit about, but we have the second album, Alfa, from Asia. Came out in 1983. This was kind of a commercial. I don't want to say flop, but it was when it came out, it was nowhere near as as popular as their first album was. So they were in kind of even just from the second album, they were in kind of record label hot water, which would cause a lot of turmoil in the band. I think this is after this, yeah. They already. I mean, this was kind of a side project, anyways. I think maybe it was a more than that at the time, but the band already started to fracture at this point. Members were already starting to leave, and it would be that way pretty much for their whole history. Later on, they would do albums where the original members would reform and everything, but I didn't really care about that, to be honest, because I think some of their best work is in their mid era, where they have totally different members and stuff like that. So original members in a band is not always the best thing. A lot of the time it is, but not necessarily always. Then we have an absolute prog masterpiece. I've needed this in my collection for a long, long time. I don't know why I'm only finally getting it, but we got Genesis, Nursery Crime. Not in the best shape. It's got the cut right there, so this is a promo copy at one point. Not in the best shape for the cover. The record actually is decent and it plays fine. I'm not an expert on this album. I can't rant on about it like some people probably could. I don't even know what year it came out. 70s. 75. That'd be my guess. Sorry. I love Genesis a lot, but I've never owned this album. Of course I've heard it, but I've never owned it. So until I own an album, I can never really form, that bond with music. It's almost like I just don't let myself. I have almost all of Genesis other albums. I think after this, I just need Foxtrot, which is my favorite, by the way. Don't own it. I need Foxtrot, and I need that last album they did, the one where Phil Collins wasn't even on it. It's kind of a weird thing, but if I'm going to be a completist, I guess I have to buy that album. And I'm not opposed to it, but Calling All Stations, I think it's called. Yeah, I've never even heard it. Like I said, Foxtrot, I don't have it, but that is my favorite Genesis record. Obviously I had seen the album cover to this one and everything, but I never really noticed how sinister it was, especially for the 70s. Just weird chicks rolling around, playing croquet with heads and stuff in the back. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It's awesome. Great album. A lot of people would call that the best, the definitive Genesis album. I wouldn't be able to argue with that at all. It's pretty awesome. It's one of those albums where you listen to it and for a fact you're never going to hear another album like that again. At least, I mean, you might dig up obscure gems from the 70s and stuff like that, but something like that's not going to be released at this point. I don't see that being possible. Everything is a product of its time, and we just can't make music like that anymore. I wish I was wrong. If someone wants to prove me wrong, I'd be more than happy to admit it. But anyway, enough rambling. Okay, now from that same seller, I took a little bit of an issue. $3 CD, so I mean it wasn't a huge issue, but I felt a little bit let down because there's a marking. I'll show you here. There's a marking on the CD, and it was not described that way at all. This was not in the description of the item. So the album is John Anderson from Yes. The album is called In the City of Angels. This is what I got. This is written in Sharpie, not on the case like I kind of thought it was. It's written on the fucking booklet. But yeah, I paid $3 for this. But what bothered me was, like I said, this was not listed. You can't sell items like this and not have that fucking listed. He had it listed as VG, as very good. So I took a little bit of an issue. I sent him an email. He was kind of whatever. Yeah, he was kind of on the defense, but was like, "Oh, I'll refund you." I'm like, "I didn't ask for a refund, man. I just, I think that you were wrong in the way that you graded your item." Well, I disagree, according to fucking Discogs grading standards. I'm like, dude, whatever. So, anyways, everything else is actually pretty pristine. All the inserts, even the booklet, it looks like it was, made yesterday, but came out in '88. But yeah, man. So essentially, I got this for free, but that's always going to bother me. Anyways, I'm a big Yes fan. I've never heard any of John Anderson's stuff. I know there are members from Toto that play on here, so I thought that was cool. I became a huge Toto fan these recent years, especially this year. So yeah, I don't know if any of you guys are into John Anderson's solo stuff, but let me know what you think if you are. So those 3 items from one seller. Another Discogs seller, I grabbed this. Long time coming for this one right here. I'm such a big fan of this band, so there's no excuse for me not having it up until now. But hey, at least I do. We have the Black Seed EP by Nozzle from Australia. This came out on Asphyxiate Recordings, so it's a repress. It's not the original. The original goes for some pretty big bucks, but I just wanted it, any version. Yeah. Nozzle, one of my favorite black metal bands. One of the more distinct black metal bands also. And not so much on their debut full length or even their demo from before that. This came out in, I think, the late 90s, maybe 98, 97, 98, something like that. I don't know. But this is one of the more unique sounding black metal releases I've ever heard to this day. No one really did anything like this before, and I've never heard anyone doing anything like this after. I can see them maybe taking a little bit of influence from Emperor, early Emperor. So this is a very synth heavy EP, but not in the way of like your typical symphonic black metal. If you're a symphonic black metal fan, yes, you will probably dig this. But I really can't compare this to any symphonic black metal. Clearly, that's where inspiration was taken, but the way that it was used, is kind of otherworldly. So look into this and look into all their work. Absolutely. A lot of people consider their debut album, Totem, a classic. Just because, okay, I'm not disagreeing with that, but just because it came out before, their second album, I think their second album, Iconoclast, is way better. But yeah, you decide. Go listen to them. If you like early Emperor, I think you'll definitely like this and Iconoclast, their second full length. Their first full length, Totem, quite a bit different. Still great. Anyways. I've talked about these guys at length before, so yeah. Listen to them. If you've already listened to them, let me know what you think, because I never hear anyone talk about them, almost ever. I also got this right here from a nice guy on Instagram. I didn't so much want this, but I had something that he wanted that I was willing to trade, so I more did it as a favor to him. So he had like 2 Borknagar CDs for trade. This one, the newest one, True North and Winter Thrice. I already had Winter Thrice, and I think Winter Thrice is quite a bit better than this album. I had already listened to it. before, accepting the trade. And I thought it was okay, but at least now that I have it, I'll definitely give it more time, more than just one listen. So, came out in 2019, Century Media. Yeah, True North, Borgnagar. All right, and stuff that I picked up from my local store yesterday. Since I've been showing all these black metal classics that I, for some reason never owned before, that seems to be a trend lately, but I'm okay with it. At least I'm finally picking them up. Whatever the reason may be. We got the debut Burzum album re-released with the Aske EP, as you can see. That's been done a lot, but I never owned either. So this is the Misanthropy Records version from England. This was came out in '94, I guess. That's cool. So it's still a pretty early. I'm not a pressing guy. I don't know how. I never research pressings. Usually, it's just like I want an album, and I just want the album. As long as it's not, a piece of shit done, sloppily by some lazy label, which I've seen that. I just want a physical release of an album. So anyways, this at some point was at Half Price Books, which we don't have a Half Price Books around here, but I'm going to have to peel these stickers off, and I hope that they don't ruin the fucking digipack. That shit, man. God damn, I might just leave it, because if I try to... This is obviously really fucking old. If I try to peel that off, it might just take the goddamn cover. Though it might not. I mean, it's a kind of a semi-gloss. It might peel off. I don't know. I hate that shit, though. Anyway, Burzum. I'm definitely a Burzum fan. You can say what you want about Varg. That doesn't... I don't care. I'm not going to really disagree with you, but I think his earlier music is amazing. So... take that as you will. Here's another classic, one that I was never really seeking anything out by this band, but I've heard all their stuff really, and they're pretty fucking incredible, especially for being a Christian band. One of the few Christian bands that I'll buy their music without really the thought. That would be Believer, with their, I don't know, this is their second album, third album. This might be their first album. I don't remember. I'm not an expert, but I have heard all their stuff. Yeah, Believer, Dimensions. They basically kind of a technical death thrash type band out of the U.S. Been around since the early 90s or so. I don't know, they had 2 or 3 classic releases. They came back years later. Another band to go on a long hiatus, come back years later with a much more modern sounding, but still okay album. But yeah, like I said, I can't remember if this is their first, second, third album. I can't remember, but it's in their classic, original era. Haven't heard it for a lot of years, probably over a decade, so I can't really, I can't say anything real specific about the release itself, other than I remember it being very good. I'm definitely a sucker for that technical, progressive thrash metal, or even kind of proto death thrash stuff. Love it. So yeah, I mean, if you like Cynic, if you like early Atheist, well, any Atheist really, if you like that kind of stuff, early, not early, but kind of mid to later era Death, mid to later era Pestilence, stuff like that, or I can name a lot of smaller bands. If you like that kind of stuff, yeah, Believer definitely need to be in your collection. Also got, I just kind of slowly pick up stuff from this guy over the years and years. We got Old Man's Child, Revelation 666, The Curse of Damnation. Came out on Century Media. Because almost all his stuff came out on Century Media. It came out in 2000. I don't know if I've ever heard this one. So, but I'm a fan. I especially like his debut album, but I like his other stuff too. If you don't know much about this band, it's what's his name, Galder, who he's now in Dimmu Borgir and has been for, I don't know, maybe close to 20 years. Sadly, since he's joined Dimmu Borgir, he doesn't release Old Man's Child stuff nearly as much. since he's been in Dim Borger, I want to say he's only released maybe 2 albums, and the last one being, I think, over a decade ago. So, and Dim Borger aren't even a busy band right now. He's just, I don't know, he's just not making a lot of music these days in general. But I hope that he does come back someday and give us another Old Man's Child album. But yeah, Galder, he's the only constant. It's a different lineup almost on every single album. I can't really read this writing, so I don't know. If you want to take a look at the personnel there, maybe you can make something out of that. Probably not. All right. Yeah. Next, we have a couple of Toto albums. I'm trying to flesh out my Toto collection after, I'd been a fan and I'd been listening to these guys for the last couple years, but this year I've just become like almost a diehard Toto fan. It's kind of crazy. So I'm just trying to buy up everything I can from them. I would have never bought this, ever, because I'd seen it around. Didn't think I needed it, but I didn't know it had 4 unreleased tracks. So, yeah. So I'm glad I finally got it. Toto Past the Present, 77 through 90. Yeah, it's got 4 unreleased tracks from the era of, what's his name? Byron. Yeah. Byron, what was the name? David Byron? Something like that. It was like their 3rd or 4th singer. But yeah. So not really the era that I'm super fond of, but it's still cool. And then I still haven't ever gotten around to hearing this one yet. Kind of a beat up copy with fucking labels and stickers everywhere that I'm trying to peel off. But other than that, in pretty good shape. We got their album Fahrenheit. I think this also had no, this was the this is the Joseph Williams era. And even still, he was their 2nd or 3rd singer. Anyway, this came out in 86. Like I said, still haven't gotten around to listening to it, which apparently bothers some people when I show stuff that I haven't heard yet, but it's just not the point. Who does that? I remember back in the day when people would write shit on their CDs. I don't know what 133 signifies, but whatever. So yeah. Gotta hear this one. I'm really, right now, their debut album is just blowing me away and becoming one of my all-time favorite albums. I don't see myself liking anything else nearly as much as that, but still. I'm still eager and excited to hear the rest of their stuff and, eager and excited to pick it up. So, fun fact, a lot of you guys probably knew this, but I didn't. Joseph Williams, like I said, he was their either 2nd or 3rd singer. He was the son of John Williams, famous for, Star Trek theme, and I'm sure he did a lot of other shit. Not Star Trek, Star Wars. What kind of nerd am I? Yeah, famous for that fucking Star Wars theme song that we all know and love. I'm sure I want to say he's done a lot of other shit, well-known, I can't remember what else he's composed, but pretty legendary, famous dude in my opinion. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's kind of cool to be a singer in Toto and be like, yeah, John Williams is my dad. But anyways, he's a good singer. He definitely didn't. He didn't join the band just on his, just because his dad was famous. He's a great singer. He was even with the band. I don't think Toto are active anymore. I want to say Steve Lukather put the band to rest, but a couple years back. But on their last album, from 4 or 5 years ago, he was on that album too. So, and did a great job. But anyways, that's all I got. I'll quit fucking yammering at you about Toto. Nobody cares. Maybe a few of you do. I don't know. But that's all I got for now. Louis says hello. He's right there. We're about to go on a walk. Yeah, very nice day out. So thanks for stopping by. Cheers. Talk soon,